Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to be showing you how to quickly get IntelliJ up and running for any of the files that we might distribute via Canvas during the semester in C343. As you've probably already noticed, IntelliJ can be somewhat of a bear to set up initially, but hopefully this video will give you the at least the information necessary to get going fairly quickly. Now, I'm assuming that you've already installed IntelliJ as well as the Java 1.8, so I'm not going to go through how to do that yet, but I will include links to the downloads for those different utilities in the notes below the video. So after you've installed everything, you should be able to run IntelliJ. So we can just go ahead and select it, and it'll open up here. And we are going to get a screen that looks something like this. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to create new project. Now, if you weren't presented with this screen right here, and it just opened up into files to begin with, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to File, and then New, and then select Project. And it'll give you the same prompt as we see here. If your SDK is not already set up, I'm going to provide another video that shows you how to go about doing that. I'm going to assume that you already have this done. If you don't, go to that other video first and then continue watching this. But assuming you have this already set up to 1.8, you can go ahead and click Next. And then we want to create project from template. And we're going to select Command Line App as the template we're going to use. And we're going to click Next. And then we're going to name our project. I'm going to do this as if I was creating the project for Lab 1, as you guys are all probably going to do that here soon, if not already. So I'm going to call it Lab 1. I'm going to put it in the location where I downloaded my my GitHub repo in an earlier video. So I'm just going to put it right here in this C343-my username directory. Now you're going to want to make sure that you also add in the name of your project. So I'm going to call this Lab 1. You're not going to want to have a base package. This might say like company.com or com.company. You can just clear that out, and that'll be the optimal default setting for you, at least at this point in time. So we click Finish. You can click OK to that. It'll load up everything, and here we go. So we're all set up. You should see this directory tree here in the side, and it should look something like this. Your source folder should be blue. Here's our main class. Everything's golden. Now what we're actually going to do first is, so let's say that we wanted to import, or we wanted to do that Lab 1 code. So if we were going to do Lab 1, what we would do is we would just create a new Java class. We'd call it util, and we'd have it here. And let's say we just wanted to have some sort of method, so we'll say static void, say hi, and we'll do system.out.print, and it'll just say hi. So we got that there. Everything's golden. The only other thing that we need to do now is set up our testing utilities. So if you'll have this directory structure here, but you'll also need to add one more directory, and you can call it whatever you want. I'm going to call it test. So we're going to see that there, and you're going to want to mark that directory as the test sources root. And it should have a little green icon next to it when you've got that set up. Next, so depending on what code we've given you, you might need to create some tests from scratch. And if you're going to do that, I'd say the easiest way to do it is to come to whatever class you want to test, highlight the name of the class, and press Alt-Enter. I think this is Option-Enter on a Mac. And then you want to do create test, and it'll give you this nice little interface for creating tests. Now, very important, in this class we're going to be using JUnit4. That's not Arquillian JUnit4, that's JUnit4. If you see this little light bulb right here, it means you need to add it to the module. You can just use the default stuff. We're good to go there. And let's say I want to test the say hi method within this class. So I click OK, and now automatically within our test directory, you'll see this util test class already there, as well as the appropriate import statements that you'll need for that. So we'll create like a nonsense test just to show you how it works. So we will have it be something like, let's see here, assert equals, 1, 1. So does 1 equal 1? Now what we can do is you'll see these little run arrows on the side, and what we can do is we'll click run test, and IntelliJ knows exactly how to build the files, so it'll build it, and it'll give you this little prompt at the bottom that say, do the test pass, and we're okay. All of our tests passed, trivially, because obviously 1 equals 1. Now, another really cool thing that we can do is do code coverage. So if we click up here in our run util test with coverage, we can see that we covered none of the lines or classes or methods in our util class. So you'll notice that we didn't actually test say hi because we have not only these little red bars next to us, but we have this kind of this aggregated output over here. And we also have this annotation right next to our classes in our project structure. So if we wanted to see what would happen if we did test it, we would say something like util.sayHi, right? And if we run it with coverage again, we can see that we added some stuff. Okay, so we've tested util, all the methods in there, in 2 out of 3 lines. So we come to util. We can see that we've covered the lines here, and you notice that the red that was here before is replaced with green, so we're good to go. And our numbers seem to be in better shape. Now there'll always be some lines that you can never test. Like I don't think it's possible to get to test this first line. But this is a good way to make sure that your tests are comprehensive. And one of the things that we'll be looking at this semester is to make sure that you've developed tests that cover the majority of the code that you've written. And so that's kind of all there is to it, to creating a new project. The last thing I want to show you is how to use the version control system that's built into IntelliJ. So you'll notice at the beginning of this video, I put this in the Git repository that I had been using earlier, or at least in my earlier videos where I showed you how to create that on your local computer. And what you can do is you can come up to this VCS tab up here. And what you want to do is you want to click the Enable Version Control Integration. You'll want to select the Git, and you want to go OK. And now it's added the Git root exactly where I had downloaded that Git repository, at the C343-JC-lengths location on my computer. You'll notice that all of these are red now. That just means that I have not added them or I have not committed them yet to the Git repo. Which means that they are not going to show up on GitHub or anywhere else. So I essentially haven't saved them. But we can do that real quick by just going to the Commit Changes button down here. And you should get a dialog box that pops up like this. So let's examine what is here. So you'll notice this is all the files that are in my Lab1 folder. I've got the .idea folder, I've got the source folder, I've got the test folder, and I've got this IML folder. Usually what I like to do is I like to only commit those, the source code and the test code, and any sort of like meta code that I've created, like a manifest code or anything like that. So what you'll do is you'll just select the two and you'll say, okay, this is my lab1 commit. And that's all I really need to do. Then you'll come down here and you will click the commit button. Sometimes there are warnings. These are usually about, if IntelliJ thinks that you've done something wrong. You can ignore them if you want, or you can review them. I'm going to ignore them right now. I'm just going to commit. I don't want to add those. So you'll notice that everything turned green for a second, and now it's black. At least it's not red. You'll notice that this one is still red because I didn't add that to my version control system. So if I want to push those things up to GitHub, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to this option right here, and I'm just going to click push, and I'm going to have to log into my GitHub. And we should get it push successful. So if we come back up here, and we refresh the page, you should see, okay, here's lab 1, here's the source code, here's the test code, everything's good to go. And so that's basically all you need to know in order to get up and running with a set of files for the for this course. Now, of course, if we had given you files, what you could do is you could just download them, copy them into the source repository, or if we'd given you a test suite, you could just download it and copy it into the util or into the test directory that you'd created. But essentially, you'll have to create this sort of structure every time you have a new sort of project, so whether that be a lab, a pre-lecture, etc., etc. This will get you kind of situated. If you run into any errors during this process, I'm going to create some videos on how to tackle those errors. But if there's not a video that covers that, please shoot a Piazza follow-up, and we will do our best to tackle that, as well as maybe create a tutorial video on how to fix it. And that's all there is to it.